You're listening to the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WYBC.
WCYTV
Here on the Daily Signal.
Good evening and welcome to the Tony Kinnett Cast here on the Daily Signal, nationally syndicated first on 93 WYBC. It's good to be with you this evening. We have so much news and not enough time to tell it. So join us tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern. That's when the show starts over on Rumble, YouTube, X, our live stream partners, as well as our affiliate partners on radio and TV. And we are going until I have not remotely decided. Tomorrow night is the off-year election night, and we have all kinds of Daily Signal coverage you're not going to find elsewhere. We've got people on the ground in New York City. We've got somebody at the Zoran Mamdani party of eating rice with your hands. We've got people in New Jersey. We've got people in Virginia. And from our nation's swampy capital. We're going to be bringing you all kinds of coverage, special guests. I know that you're not supposed to announce guests you're going to have because somehow that jinxes it. I don't care. We're going to have Victor Davis Hanson on the show. We're going to have Scott Jennings of CNN and Salem fame on the show. Virginia former Attorney General Ken Cuccinelli to talk about the Jay Jones and Jason Miyares election campaign situation. And we might even make a 5-layer peanut butter and jelly on air, just like Gavin Newsom did in his destitute boyhood. Who knows what's going to happen? Well, that's why you got to watch the show. And it matters because, according to the latest Likely Voter Research Co. poll, where they pushed leaners. I love this kind of a poll because essentially a pushing leaners poll means you go and ask likely voters, hey, who do you want to win this election? And they go, I don't know. And then the pollster then gives them a good shove into a dumpster and says, try again, nerd. And right now what we have in New Jersey and Virginia, New Jersey gubernatorial governor race leaners pushed. We have Mickey Sherrill, that's the Democrat candidate at 51%. We have Jack Ciattarelli at 48%. That's the Republican. And then you have Vic Kaplan, the Libertarian that no one's voting for, at 1%. It is within margin of error time, boys and girls. Also in November, Republicans are leading in last-minute voter registration 2-1, 3,000 to Democrats, 1,500. Over in the Virginia gubernatorial right now, Abigail Spanberger at 54%, Winsome Earl Sears at 46%. For Republicans, that's about where Youngkin and Terry McAuliffe were as we headed into the last gubernatorial. The question all comes down to quote Charles Barkley, whoever gets out the most points, puts it on the board, it's not going to be terrible. It's all about turnout. Yeah, it's all about turnout. You're like, duh, Tony, it's an election. I know, but here's the thing. Getting people excited about the Democratic Party right now is like getting excited about getting slapped in the knees with a 2x4. Getting people excited about the Republicans right now is like getting slapped in the knee with a slightly smaller 2x4. And so we're going to see who's ready to get smacked in the shins more in the next 24 hours. Now, this brings us to what the rest of the country is doing. We're going to talk about this with Wade Stotts in a bit. But right now, you have a number of officials who think they're hot stuff. They think everybody loves them. And they have come out to campaign on behalf of people you've never heard of. So Barrack Obama has stepped down from on high. He's here to tell you that he's got the answers. Let me be clear. He came out to Abigail Spanberger, the former CIA spook, and of course, Jay Jones, the violent would-be attorney general candidate of Virginia, to get really excited about unity. A little interesting. Here is Barrack Obama.
I believe in an America where we don't fear each other, but look out for each other. And if we want that story to continue, if we believe in that better story, we need leaders who believe in it too.
Now that's a rather interesting thing to say. We don't need to fear each other. We need unity and leaders who fight for us. And they need to be amazing, unicorn kisses. He goes on to talk about how important it is to be really kind and wonderful. Of course, that's at the same rally where Jay Jones, the guy who texted, about killing his opponent politically and then seeing that guy's wife and kids die, and also said, he wouldn't care if a couple of police officers died here and there. Well, hey, little violent rhetoric. What is that? Just the guy who would be running the entire law enforcement apparatus in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Now, the funny part about Obama showing up to this rally and endorsing Abigail Spanberger, the white blonde lady running as the Democrat for the governorship of Virginia, is that a year ago, Obama was gathering around the dudes and saying that they have an obligation to elect a black woman because she looks like they do. Here was Obama just a year ago, as he said, telling the again, according to quote Obama, the brothers, why they needed to vote for Kamala Harris.
So if you don't mind, just for a second, I'm going to speak to y'all directly and say that when you have a choice that is this clear, when on the one hand you have somebody who...
You know, I used to think that Hakeem Jeffries, when he modeled his speech patterns after Obama, I didn't realize he also modeled the stuttering pauses that last for eternity. That's interesting.
Grew up like you, knows you, went to college with you.
Grew up with you, knows you, acts like you, went to college with you. He's talking about Kamala Harris, and he goes on again to talk about how important it is that they vote for a sister. That's his idea here. The issue is that in the Virginia election a year later, the black female candidate is the Republican. That would be Winsome Sears. But Obama's not interested in the racial politics when it goes against the ideological grain. He gets out there and says, oh, it's all about like a racial issue and a sexism issue, until it actually comes to endorsing the first black female candidate to become the governor of Virginia. Then all of a sudden, well, it's about unity and peace and adjectives and nouns. Very exciting stuff. Nancy Pelosi, sucking on her dentures. She's excited about Gavin Newsom. I don't know if anyone told her that Gavin Newsom is not running for election this second. Like he's not up for election in California. It's a proposition. No one told Nancy Pelosi. She showed up to a campaign event anyway, and she's really, really excited. Kind of like somebody gave a Yorkie an espresso. Here you go.
It's clear that this governor has a vision for our country. He has knowledge of our country and our state. The state of California, the fourth largest economy in the world. Gavin manages that way, with great dignity. He has strategic thinking about how to get things done, and that is what has brought us together here. When this opportunity occurred, Gavin had a plan. He's a man with a plan, and that's what brings us here today.
I don't know if you were able to witness Gavin Newsom's face while this was going on. It looked like he was being told that he was going to have to get a root canal. It was half part cringe and the other part, oh dear God, why did we let this aged, decrepit, denture-sucking goofball up here to ramble at the cameras for 30, 40, 50 seconds? Producer Nick?
The way he bit his lip as she was halfway through her statement just really rung home how he was just hoping that she could pull off something coherent.
Look at again, if you're watching the live stream online, you can see.
His
look at
bottom
that.
lip
Look at the
just
lip
turns
bite.
into bubble gum.
Oh no! Yeah, Nancy is finally announcing she's retiring at the end of 2026 at the ripe old age of 257. So I'm excited that the lady who ran to be the Speaker of the House against the first Ulysses S. Grant administration. I'm glad she's finally sunsetting. Now, by the way, I do want to make it clear. Obama and Nancy Pelosi getting involved at this point, them actually getting out to campaign, it's not helping whatsoever. It's not. And forget Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. No one's mentioning them. No one's inviting them. There's not even a hint of the joy that cometh in the morning. But Obama and Pelosi, who are supposed to be like the go-getters. I mean, you have Nancy Pelosi. She gets out the old winos. You have Barack Obama. He gets out... he lectures black men about who they should vote for. You've got some appeal there, right? Basically, something to get the ladies watching The View and Sex in the City excited. Only right now, Americans are kind of aggravated at Barack Obama, and we're going to talk about that over on the live stream. Radio crew, we got to send you to commercial. We'll see y'all on the other side of that commercial. Continue on the live stream. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast. All right, over on the live stream side of things. Right now, A growing level of discontent with American voters is centering around the open enrollment that begins at this lovely time of year. You say, Tony, open enrollment insurance discussions sound about as fun as listening to Nancy Pelosi endorse Gavin Newsom. And you're right, it's not. But here's why it's funny. Because remember when Nancy Pelosi herself said we have to pass Obamacare, we got to pass that Affordability Care Act in order to see what's inside? Well, it turns out now, what's inside? Insurer revenues from the Obamacare premiums were 87% taxpayer funded in 2024. So essentially, the all premium revenue right now from insurers has stayed essentially about the same since 2018. And the amount of taxpayer money that has slid into these insurance companies since 2021 has, let's see, going from 40% all the way to almost 120% in total revenue expansion. Meaning that essentially insurance companies have been relying on these subsidies that the Biden administration passed as a temporary measure to help Obamacare during COVID. Now, all of these medical companies have skyrocketing premiums. People are like, wait a minute, why are all of these health insurance plans that Obamacare was going to provide and make better? And remember your doctor, it was going to be wonderful, it was going to be super duper. Why is Obamacare letting us down like this? Why do we have to pump additional money into it? Because government programs like this always end up taking more money than they ever thought they would take at the beginning. And when you don't have an active kind of competition, which already the United States insurance and healthcare system sorely lacks because of overregulation, well, all of a sudden you get this big disaster train that continues accelerating towards the cliff that is Obamacare. Now, we're going to talk about how SNAP, also under Obama's tutelage, got way out of whack. So that Obama showing his face right before tomorrow's elections could in fact be a deeply feared disaster for last minute people who decide whether or not they want to turn out. Elisa Slotkin in Michigan is having a rough time. Now you say, who is Elisa Slotkin from Michigan? Well, she's that one mom that's also a former intelligence individual who is the senator from Michigan, purpley Michigan. And she was the lady they trotted out after Trump's big State of the Union style speech as like the response. She was going to be the next brave leader. She turned out just to be another angry old Democrat, liberal, white woman. Well, Elisa Slotkin now, she's whining and upset. And I'm not even joking. You can hear the people in the crowd watching this struggling to get where she's coming from.
This man has done nothing but make you poorer and sicker since the minute he took office. That healthcare story that we're going through right now starts with Donald Trump, who understands that if the government helps people get healthcare, he doesn't get the tax breaks that he wants.
Now you see people in the crowd that are kind of turning and looking at each other. Huh? What's that? I thought that Obama character did that. And you would be correct, people in the crowd. Yes, Trump tried to get Obamacare repealed. And it was John McCain who voted against it being repealed. Obamacare has been the law of the land. Whether you like it, lump it, doesn't matter. It still is, in fact, the policy for healthcare in this country. And even Democrats sitting and listening to Elisa Slotkin in Michigan understand this.
Realized it wasn't popular, right? The grassroots, groups like yours, rose up in 2018 and said, you're not going to take our protections for people with pre-existing conditions. He ran on lowering your costs, right? He said, I'm going to put more money in your pocket. This man has done nothing but make you poorer and sicker since the minute he took office.
Now, this is a dog that's just not going to hunt, because Donald Trump has a considerable runway to improve things between now and the midterms. And the economic and healthcare impact of the midterms, which is what Democrats think they're kind of gearing up for here, those really only start to be set into stone once early voting processes begin in like August and September. So the idea that they think they're going to nail him to the coffin now is just not going to occur. It's just not going to happen. And this gets really, 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 really awkward, because you have a group of individuals right now who are trying to romanticize the Obama era of the economy. And they're trying to avoid Joe Biden and Kamala, but they're trying to romanticize Democrat policy, and it ain't working. We got to swing back and pick the radio crew up from commercial. Don't go anywhere. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast.
This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Welcome back to the Tony Kinnett Cast here on the Daily Signal, nationally syndicated first on 93 WIBC. We're going to talk about how Democrats, Republicans, the president want to get out of the shutdown. Of course, we're going to get there. I have something that is far more interesting and important, though, in the moment. We're going to talk about the SNAP benefit mess because you may remember that you were told all of these government programs, all of the government programs, we're talking all the way from SNAP over to Obamacare to USAID. We're talking about FEMA, the Department of Education, Department of Energy, the Department of Transportation under Pete Buttigieg. We were told all of those government programs, sure, maybe they needed a little bit of oversight, maybe. But, I mean, they were totally fine. After all, there's no widespread fraud or abuse. We've heard that one before, haven't we? And it turns out, after the Trump administration announced that there just wasn't enough money to cover the 42 million Americans who are now on supplemental nutrition assistance, the SNAP program, that right now, the administration says the USDA's contingency, its rainy day fund, is not enough to cover payments, and there's not a national emergency. And there was this weird timing, producer Nick. Do you remember how weird this timing was? On Friday, right before the shutdown, we had some emergency federal order swing on through. We had Judge Talwani from Boston. We had Judge McConnell from up in Connecticut. You had a couple of other judges weighing in and saying, you know what, Trump administration, you need to pay for SNAP. And they're like, dude, the bill for SNAP is like 10, 12, 14, 16 billion dollars for this payment. And we only have $6-8 billion in reserve that we don't even think we can use. So if you want to get out the crayons and sketch a map for us, Magellan, on how we're supposed to maneuver these funds in, sure. And judges ruled and insisted, you have to spend this money. So the Trump administration came forward and said, fine, okay, well, we're going to go ahead and do this. We're going to give you partial funds. And so to ensure that right now, the SNAP monies go to those who need it the most, we're also going to incorporate a work requirement, 80 hours a week, so that people who are working or who are trying to contribute are the ones who are getting supplemental assistance. Now, before we even get to the fraud that was uncovered and why the judges last minute here were like, oh, wait, please don't look into where the SNAP money is going. Please just fund it. Don't look anywhere else. I want to show you Representative Ayanna Pressley, one of the squad members, and her response to the Trump administration's and Congress's requirement for, in order to obtain SNAP benefits, you have to actually work if you're not disabled. You know, if you don't work, you don't eat. That being from Scripture and Coolio's Gangsta Paradise, just quoting literature here. Here's Ayanna Pressley's response to a work requirement.
The biggest way to...
Sorry, a lot of clips this evening. Ayanna Pressley's response to the work requirement.
First and foremost, this is the most corrupt administration in history. And then they're cruel enough to create work requirements for hungry people to get SNAP.
Now, I want to make this clear. Yes, the Trump administration is in fact cool enough to put work requirements on SNAP. That is pretty cool. I like that. I do. Now, cruel enough, which is what Ayanna Pressley is saying, I'm not sure what's cruel about asking those who are not on disability to work in order to get SNAP benefits. If you're not on disability, there are signs everywhere to get employment, maybe not at the job of your dreams, maybe not a job that's going to be enough to put you in the lifestyle that you want. Maybe it is, in the service industry, the fast food industry, past a point in your life where you want to be doing that. But I thought that the whole point of why we wanted a big, huge, massive federal minimum wage was that so people could work those jobs and still have enough to eat and pay rent. So I'm confused a minute. Wait a minute. So you're telling me that it's not actually about the work, because if they're getting SNAP benefits and they're getting the salary from this job that doesn't pay enough, isn't that better than nothing? Again, I would just to point this out yet again, a lot of the people who are furious over SNAP benefits requiring work are always sending these videos from their bedroom, and they're always looking pretty well fed to me. So they're either in their house, their bathroom, their bedroom, and they're looking pretty well fed. Great example. Here is one of the more popular videos today from TikTok comparing work requirements to slavery.
People gonna get real mad when they realize that they waking up to what slaves woke up to. And I'm not saying the infrastructure is the same, but I am saying that you can't go to the doctor. You might die having a baby.
What?
You ain't pulled your weight in the field today. You might not get no food. Oh, by the way, rain, snow, sleet, and hail ain't a reason.
Rain, snow, sleet, and hail will deliver what you mail. Why is she quoting the post office?
Not to come to work. Oh, you didn't pull your quota? Let me go ahead and take that house.
So the argument she's making is that if you don't meet a work quota per week, by the way, which there are exceptions in the program, if you're sick, something happens, there are exceptions in the program. But she's saying that if you don't do what the master is telling you to do, then they're going to take your stuff. Again, you are requesting taxpayers foot the bill for your food. No one's footing the bill for my food. No one is footing the bill for a lot of Americans' food. We go into work. Now, there are some who do, in fact, need supplemental nutrition assistance. And if you're going to suggest that there are all of these Americans who can't do any work, I don't know about you, she looked pretty healthy to me. She didn't look starving to me. In fact,
healthy.
According to some of the statistics here, and I want to make sure that I get this pretty on point here, 42 million people in this country are on SNAP. It was less than 7 or 8 million before President Obama took office, but 70% of SNAP recipients are overweight or obese. Only 4.2 million of SNAP recipients, or 10%, are disabled, and 44% of those disabilities are due to obesity or obesity-related illnesses. 3.9 million SNAP recipients are the children of illegal aliens. That's going to matter here in a second. 1.5 million are refugees or asylees from other countries. Now we get to the problem. The problem is that the federal government has now done a Doge-style looky-through of supplemental nutrition assistance. And they have found a couple of irregularities. And so the U.S. Department of Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins, friend of the show, may I add, made this point about what they started uncovering once they started looking through SNAP.
Day one of USDA, February 13th, is we sent letters to every governor in America being very clear that no illegal aliens can use SNAP. 0, 0, 0. We asked every state for the first time in history, and this was in February, to send us their data and let us, with Doge and a war room, actually start going through this data to better understand how this explosion of SNAP benefits happened under Joe Biden.
Do you remember how that happened? Do you remember how they said you need to send us some information? And they said, oh, you're going to sell SNAP people's social security numbers to billionaires or whatever. You had Maxine Waters out there jiggling her jowls for justice. All of this nonsense, this freak out. And it turned out the reason they didn't want people digging through SNAP is...
He increased almost 40% on this program in just a couple of years under the Biden administration. Of course, we know they were trying to buy the election, but that's a conversation for another time. And since we have asked for that data, 29 states have complied. Of course, almost all the red states, a couple of couple blue states too. But in that data, and I haven't talked about this yet publicly, in that data we've studied about $100 billion in spend. We have found thousands and thousands of illegal use of the EBT card. We have been moving people off of SNAP. We've got almost 700,000 people, I think, we've moved off just since the president took office.
That is wild. We're going to get into some of those cases. 700,000 cases of fraud just in the states that provided data from the red states and a few blue states like Kentucky, for example. We're going to get into some of this fraud on the live stream. Radio crew, sorry, we have to send you to the commercial. Don't go anywhere. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast. All right, live stream crew. I do, in fact, have some pretty rough stuff just for you. So the data that the federal government has looked through essentially found 2 or 3 different kinds of SNAP fraud. So first of all, because there are no longer food stamps, the federal government sends you a debit card, an EBT card, and then you swipe those in the store. There are hundreds of cases, every single day, hundreds of cases every single day that the federal government is finding people spending their debit card stuff on everything from lingerie to Louis Vuitton purses, things you're not supposed to be able to spend food assistance money on. Now, I seem to remember the big complaint and like the Eminem song when he was rapping about living in Detroit, that food stamps don't buy diapers. This isn't a case of people buying diapers with food stamps. This isn't a case of people buying diapers with EBT. This is a case of people that have been caught defrauding the system and buying things that have nothing to do with nutrition assistance, unless your Louis Vuitton purse is the only thing you're keeping food in, like some kind of bastardized refrigerator from hell. Here's a case from back in May in Ohio. Check this out.
Sorry?
On the screen in Franklin County Common Pleas Court, Ayanat Bizga, one of the 3 accused of stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars out of Ohio's Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP.
You understand? Yes, I understand. I mean, no. Tell them.
Due to a language barrier, a judge continued his case and the case of Joina Maria Baselan that involves 5 counts, stating they engaged in a criminal enterprise starting last summer to steal more than $150,000 worth of welfare benefits. It's at that same time.
Taking a gentleman unconscious.
Bizga crashed his minivan into a Columbus fire hydrant and was rushed to OSU East.
By the way, for all of those people in California and other blue states who lose their mind when police officers run the data checks in traffic stops and minor car accidents, this is the kind of stuff they're protecting. Well, why would you look at the records of this person? Is it because they're Hispanic? No, because there might be a warrant out for arrest. There might be a situation where the person is here illegally. And if they are here illegally, we need to determine whether they are just grandma just who magically teleported over the border, or whether it is someone who is here to defraud Americans of the United States, not just those born in the country, but naturalized immigrants are routinely abused by those who are illegal immigrants in this country. If you have done the work to get into this country legally, if you have done the work, if you've gone through the test to become a United States citizen, you've studied the civics, you've invested yourself and your family, you've done all of the necessary things, you've waited in line to become a citizen, I want you protected from those who would cut in line. It is ridiculous. $100 billion has been spent in this country, discovered by the federal government this year, in illegal use of the EBT card. $100 billion. Gee, producer Nick, that sounds like a lot more than the $6 to $8 billion contingency fund that judges were losing their marbles about. Freaking, I mean, to quote Gilbert Gottfried,
"Oh, there's a big surprise. That's an incredible. I think I'm going to have a heart attack and die from that surprise."
But it gets worse. Because in some of the states, this is according to a Minnesota state representative, Pam Altendorf, Minnesota is refusing to give the federal government their SNAP records, well, because of some irregularities in the data. So we have to pick the radio crew up from commercial. Don't go anywhere. We're going to get into this because Minnesota, old Tim Walz territory, is looking a little shady. Don't go anywhere. Tony Kinnett Cast.
This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Welcome back to the Tony Kinnett Cast here on The Daily Signal. Let's talk a little bit about some of the examples of SNAP fraud in the United States and those blue states which are hiding extensive SNAP benefits. Now, producer Nick, just out of the gate here, I haven't written this in the show notes, just a little pop quiz. What is one of the things that Minnesota is currently known for with its election? What's one of the things that Tim Walz is deeply concerned about? Just off the top of your head, just name an issue or two for me.
Being the most milquetoast white American possible.
That's true. He does want to be the most milquetoast white American possible, but he also believes very, 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 very deeply in something a little international, a little sanctuary-esque. What does Minneapolis currently have coming up tomorrow? How's an election? One of the people up for election? Can you tell me a little bit about this guy?
I believe Omar Feta.
Sure, Omar Fata, the Somalian waving kind of guy.
Midwestern
a lot of illegal immigration.
Omar Feta.
Big sanctuary kind of a status state, Minnesota. Well, there's a bit of an issue here. So according to Pam Altendorf, she pointed out as a state representative that according to the data, Minnesota had a 174% increase in supplemental nutrition assistance issuance from 2020 to 2021.
Oh.
So during the COVID time, when Minnesota was under the Biden administration, beginning to import right into 2021 at the end here, all of these illegal immigrants, and to bring all of these in this sanctuary status over to Minnesota, their supplemental nutrition assistance program increased by 174%. Minnesota's programs, their social programs, have become so bloated now that the Minnesota Housing Stabilization Services Program has officially shut down due to widespread fraud. This is on October 31st. According to the House Speaker Lisa DeMuth, once again, state agencies failed to catch fraud in real time. Instead of stopping it, they're scrambling after the fact after millions of taxpayer dollars have already been stolen. So Minnesota, their state programs riddled with fraud. Riddled with fraud so bad that the government of Minnesota under Tim Walz is shutting down agency after agency. There are massive, unaccounted for, what I can see here, the expansion in SNAP in 2022 was 46%. The expansion in SNAP, for Michigan in 2021, 2022 was 46%. The expansion in Mississippi was 37%. In Minnesota, fiscal year 2019 to fiscal year 2021, 174% increase. It is bonkers the amount of fraud that is riddled in these institutions that as soon as the federal government starts to look in, federal judges, they swoop in like paratroopers. Like, you have to start immediately funding these. No questions, no looking, no asking. And it is looking really suspicious to Americans. And by the way, Americans do have every right to be suspicious of these particular streams of funding. And this brings us over to Zohran Mamdani, who right before the election in New York City, up against Andrew Cuomo and Curtis Sliwa, is hit with yet another scandal. This one you sent me. Linda Sarsour of the Women's March came out like a day early, and admitted that Zohran Mamdani's campaign, which was supposed to be funded grassroots, right? Oh, it was just supposed to be little minor donations here and there, just a couple of people just, donating their hard-working dollars. And it turns out Zohran Mamdani's campaign was funded massively by the Council for American Islamic Relations. So CARE, the Islamic group that, celebrates acts of terror. Oh, well, that particular group giving Zohran a bunch of money.
Right now, I'm a little more quiet because I'm on the quiet side of this race. But
why would you be on the quiet side of this race, Linda Sarsour?
I'm going to tell you that once November 4th comes around, I will tell the story. The story is not just, that it's random that Zohran ascended to this place. It is our Muslim American communities. And I'll also say that it's Muslim money. The PACs that have supported Zohran.
Wait a minute. The PACs that have supported Zohran, political action committees. Hang on a second here. I was told this was all grassroots, individual donations, a little act blue for me and you. Wait a minute, Muslim community PACs, this is sounding less grassroots all the time. It's not like they just passed the offering plate after the reading of the surah.
Or a particular PAC that has supported Zohran is probably over 80% of Muslim American donors in this country.
Wait a minute now. 80% of his supposed Muslim American donations came from one political organization? All of a sudden, it's not really sounding so grassroots.
Net donors, grassroots donors, and I want to make the point that the Unity and Justice Fund PAC, which is the CARE Super PAC, was the largest institutional donor to the pro-Zohran PAC in New York.
Now that is unsurprising. So nothing grassroots about that at all. She said the word grassroots. Go ahead and get in your buzzword. But other than that, no, nothing at all that speaks to any kind of genuine grassroots assistance whatsoever. It really, really is wild. And by the way, what is Zohran Mamdani doing right now? I believe, producer Nick, you've shared a couple of polls with us. Right now, it appears in the New York race that if Curtis Sliwa drops out, that Andrew Cuomo has the momentum necessary to push past Zohran Mamdani and win the mayoralty for the New York City election. I believe you said that Trump today kind of went in a little bit further to encourage New Yorkers to vote for Cuomo over Sliwa or Mamdani.
Both Trump and Elon.
Both Trump and Elon Musk. It's a wild, wild time. Here you go. Here's Zoran Mamdani today telling people to, fight in the Islamophobia in a rather curious way, interesting way. I don't know if I'd recommend this, but here you go.
And I just want to ask everyone in this crowd, if you can raise your hand if you have been called a terrorist while living in this city. Yes.
Now that's a weird question. If you've been accused of being a terrorist, raise your hand. I have a few questions and concerns, sir. And the rest of the campaigns right now, producer Nick, they're so abysmal. I mean, at least John Fetterman, Senator Betterman, he has in fact come out finally against Mamdani again, the very last of the sane Democrats. We'll get to him a little bit later when we cover some of the shutdown shenanigans that never seem to end or might be about to end. Little bit of a tease there for you, but here's Senator John Fetterman of Pennsylvania on his fellow Democrat Mamdani.
There are big elections on Tuesday, obviously coast to coast in New Jersey and Virginia and California. There's a referendum on redistricting. In New York City, polls show that the Democratic nominee Zoran Mamdani is in the lead for the mayor's race. You've previously dismissed him as, quote, not even a Democrat, and it is true he's a Democratic socialist. Do you think it would be a mistake for New Yorkers to elect him as mayor? Would you vote for Cuomo if you were a New Yorker, or Sliwa?
No, that's going to be New York's voice. Socialism is not the future of my party. And if that's going to be their future, that's really up to New York City to decide those things. You know, we all know how socialism works out. Ask anybody that's lived under those kinds of systems all across the globe.
Democrats will, in fact, by the end of midterms, cut Fetterman out of the party. They will cut him out of the party. It will be in some kind of whether it's some kind of a future primary process when we're looking around here in the distant future. When you look at the case of Senator John Fetterman, they will not tolerate him criticizing socialism and criticizing Democrats in the shutdown right now. By the way, Hakeem Jeffries also got shoved into the corner over Mamdani, and Hakeem is now awkwardly pivoting between Mamdani and between Andrew Cuomo, like an awkward after-school special where like the main character gets caught in a love triangle at the school dance.
Big elections coming up in just 2 days. Governor's race in Virginia, governor's race in New Jersey, and then the mayor of the city in which you live, New York, New York. You've already cast your ballot for mayoral candidate Zoran Mamdani. Do you see Mamdani as the future of the Democratic Party?
No, I think the future of the Democratic Party is going to fall, as far as we're concerned, relative to the House Democratic Caucus and members who are doing a great work all across the country as it relates to our need to both take back control of the House, but in doing so, make sure that we're communicating to the American people like we understand you deserve better.
What on earth is he rambling about, dude? His inability just to say whether Zoran is or isn't the future of the party, that man's bringing word salad like Caesars. This is wild.
Than the country that you have received. Donald Trump and Republicans have gone way too far and have failed to deliver anything meaningful for the American people. And as Democrats, we're going to focus on lowering the high cost of living, on fixing our broken healthcare system that Republicans continue to make worse with their toxic policies.
We're going to talk about that in a second.
And of course, on cleaning up corruption in the Congress, in the courts, and within the administration, with Donald Trump running the largest pay-to-play scheme in the history of the country. So
Jake Tapper eventually ends up coming back and saying, so Mamdani, Cuomo, and he essentially gives kind of a weird non-answer on he'll pick whatever Democrat ends up coming out on top. Really weird backtrack. Radio crew, we got to send you to commercial. We're going to continue on the live stream. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast. I really do not know. I'm trying to understand why the Democrats keep putting forward people who can't passionately speak to the issues and answer questions. So here's a clip that producer Nick sent me. It was posted over on X. I was a little surprised at the editing. It's pretty good stuff. Abigail Spanberger, Democrat gubernatorial candidate for Virginia, being asked what's most important to her. I'm looking forward to this.
So last question, if you could pass one piece of legislation,
What would it be?
Wow, I would love, that's a really good question because there's so many that are coming to mind right now. But right now, I would love at this point to pass legislation to just send a federal block grant back to states, back to the state of New Jersey, to run some really key programs and innovate on them.
Mikey Sherrill, ladies and gentlemen. Mikey Sherrill. Abigail Spanberger is not doing much better. So I'm just amazed consistently how Abigail Spanberger, how Mikey Sherrill, the two Democrat ladies they've picked up for these positions, they don't know how to answer very, very, very basic questions. Shouldn't that be concerning to someone at the party level? Shouldn't this should be an alarm bell situation. There should be some kind of a campaign somewhere in just some very, very basic fashion that brings forward a person that has some kind of substance just in the smallest, shortest of ways. And Nick, I got to tell you, I'm just, every time I go to see what it is that the party is kind of pushing forward as the next great plan, I mean, you just end up getting this stuff.
What are your thoughts on youth sports allowing trans athletes to participate?
Well, I think that we see, and I mean, it's about $30 million worth of attack ads against me related to trans youth and that have run so far. And there's more ad buys in the future, some of them about this, most of them about this.
They just bring forward someone who just rambles until the camera in the interview ends. That was Abigail Spanberger. So they don't have anything. There's nothing of substance. And for the Republicans that are running, there is a little bit of substance to some of the campaigns. And we're going to talk about this. And there's a Supreme Court seat in this election that in the election tomorrow that's up for grabs. You have some other kind of smaller state elections just here and there that are spread around. That Supreme Court election is in Pennsylvania. Of course, we have the Minneapolis mayoral race. There needs to be something of substance to drive Americans forward. You have to have something that you are moving to. And right now, this issue is plaguing both Republicans and Democrats. It is. The Democrats have nothing to move to. They have nothing to move to. They simply shout healthcare, they shout food, and they shout housing. And it's not really enough to paint an accurate picture or tell people how we're going to get there. And then when Democrats are in power, again, you give Pete Buttigieg $8 billion and he builds 7 electric vehicle charging stations. So they say, give us the money and we'll do it. And then you give them the money and then they don't do anything. Instead, all they end up doing is creating a bigger mess than they're in. And that leaves Republicans right now in a really awkward spot. Because all you have to do is provide the vision for where you're supposed to go. Show me where we're at. Show me what it is that we're doing. And I'm not seeing it. Right now, there's a major cultural battle on the right. Right now, the left is busy futzing over really cringy campaign ads, and we're going to cut over to that with Wade Stotts, and then go from there to a bit of bonus tonus. Don't go anywhere. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast. We got to pick up the radio crew one last time.
This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Wade Stotts is a guy that they really shouldn't let us have on the interviews because we sit here, we start cackling at, for example, you being from the beautiful land of Arkansas and I being from Indiana, where no one knows what a Hoosier is. We have to pronounce in an off-year election a lot of names that we have no God-given business pronouncing, like New Jersey's Republican gubernatorial candidate, Jack. Oh, no. Chiarelli? Chiarelli? How are we supposed to pronounce this one?
I don't know. Every time I try, it does sound like a rude word, but I think it's okay as sort of middle America gentleman. I think it's okay for us to mispronounce it. I think as long as we encourage people to vote for him, I think he's fine with it. I don't know the guy, but he seems like the kind of guy who'd be fine with it. And maybe if I knew him personally, he might be a little upset about it, but vote for
we could be
Jack
cool with it.
C name,
like back C Relly, I mean, really engage with the youths.
That was very cool, by the way, Tony. Very cool the way you just said that.
Like Gavin Newsom, I also grew up on the streets with my 5 stack of PB&J. So I got to ask you a question. Do you also just cringe from, toes to the top of your head when you see all of the coastal elite politicians come to campaign and off your elections? Like, what Abigail Spanberger really needed was Barack Obama up there waving his arm around as though he's casting a vision, Bob Ross style.
Your wife kicked you out? Dia. Who knew?
Yeah, Obama is this like sort of relic from a previous time, and it is odd to see him because it feels like he's become so irrelevant to the popular imagination, except for to like avid NPR listeners, that it is bizarre to see that he still exists and is waking up every morning and doing stuff like this. But yeah, casting a vision. It's odd to see a guy who lost so has continued to lose the center of America.
His entire legacy is gone. I mean, totally. The State Department. The State Department is just no longer a thing in the Obama-esque fashion. Rubio has been going through like with the snow shovel and just scooping out row after row of Obama staffers. It's fantastic. And then he has to get up on stage, or Michelle gets on camera and says, "You know what? No one's ever been as mean to anyone as to the first family."
Yeah. Oh, and like same with Hillary, when you see her just doing stuff, it's this very I don't know, this old starlet who, used to have all the roles, this sort of old Billy Wilder movie. And yeah, no, it's tragic, but it's a joy. I think it's fun to see these people not know that they're irrelevant, not realize that they've lost so much. But who knows if these, obviously the particular elections are still at play. But these people are, I don't know, they might. I don't think that there's anybody in Virginia who was not going to vote for the Democrat who got mobilized by Barack Obama.
It's a strange thing when you start talking about end of election mobilization. It gets cheesier and cheesier. And I think the cheese, you need to bring it out at the beginning. All right, cheese is the appetizer plate. It doesn't really belong on the dessert plate in the campaign cycle. If you're going to get out the cheesers, you bring out Obama right away and go, let me be clear, I'm up here. And then you bring him out in February, and then in November you bring out the moderate who no one's really ever heard of, who sounds like Droopy Dog. Oh dear. And then you get like a few of the moderates in. Am I off my rocker there? Would the cheese work way better at the beginning of the campaign, like the Brat Summer stuff, maybe?
That's a good question. And I'm curious, even in that, in your opinion about this, where in there the attack ads? Like, do the attack ads go early? Do the attack ads go late? Are they throughout? Obviously you're using a meal metaphor, so I don't want to put anything gross in this lineup. But
do the aggressively acidic foods? Where do you add the hot sauce? First of all, I love that also as a fellow Midwestern Protestant, you understand that the best analogies that we could ever use are about food. Our audience appreciates that for sure. Maybe I should have used that as an explanation to my boss why it was okay to eat on camera during our last election coverage. I digress.
It was a long election. Come on.
Dude, I needed that steak at the end of that. And my boss is like, what if people see you chewing on camera? And I'm like, well, they're going to see that I'm chewing quality American pasture raised beef. Can I get an amen? So
excitedly is key. Yeah.
This interview is already just off track. Regarding attack ads, I think it depends. If it's a cheesy, like Jack Chiarelli once ate a whole box of kittens at the beginning of Oliver and Company, like that. That you need to save for the end, because otherwise you're going to debunk it. And then there's a period of months where you're embarrassed after the attack ad. But if it's a really good one, for example, the Jay Jones Attorney General candidate situation in Virginia. I think that you bring out, they should have brought that out sooner and held their toes. They clearly had it in advance, right? They had that in their back pocket for at least a month. And I think they should have brought it out sooner. Do you think that maybe they would have gotten Jay to, I don't know if there was any counter strategizing where they're like, well, we want it to come out, but we don't want Jay Jones. We don't want them to have enough time to replace another AG candidate and then lose its potency.
Yeah, I mean, these texts were, I think, from 2022. They definitely did hold on to them for a while. It is interesting. I don't think that maybe they didn't expect that they wouldn't even want to replace anybody. I think the ignore strategy has, we'll see if it ends up working for them. But I think that's probably what they would have done at any point. I don't see them sort of scrambling. They don't seem to be embarrassed by this, really. They just sort of, I really don't know what their answer is, but it definitely hasn't been like, oh, panic, at least in public.
I think there's a responding to crises. I thought that maybe as millennials started to become more in the PR game of a lot of these campaigns. I mean, you've seen some administrations do it very, very flawlessly. I mean, the way the Trump administration has handled the memes and responding to things by, you make a criticism of me, great. That criticism has just become my profile picture, whether it's a South Park, or a SNL sketch. They lean into it. JD Vance, of course, on Halloween with the wig and, did you say thank you? I think that the left hasn't quite figured out and the right haven't quite figured out that just leaning into the next generation's way of addressing scandals is the right way. Like just address it head on and kind of lean into it, because there's a lot of awkward regret that's come from the leaning into it. Like Mamdani talking about, actually, you need to eat rice with your hands even more. Everyone out there, hands, dip them into some rice. It's like, I don't know, man, that wasn't the move.
Yeah, it helps that the Trump and JD Vance are relatively, I wouldn't say normal people, but they're right about a lot of this stuff. And so, like, when you're wrong, like if they were to embrace and amplify the Jay Jones texts, then that's really bad news for them. So the kind of criticism, it's like
what's that lefty podcaster who's been in stuff lately? Jessica
Hassan. No.
Oh, no, not the dog shocker. I guess they have a few. The one white woman with Botox in her face to high heaven. I know that doesn't narrow it down.
But well, she just jumped on the scene. I've never seen her before. But okay.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, that's right. That's her name. Nicole Wallace, but slightly different. She did lean into the Jay Jones things. And stuff. She's like, yeah, actually the violence is good. And if you don't, we're coming for you. Like we come after MAGA. So there is a little of that, but I guess you're right. It is a really awful look. She is getting dragged mercilessly.
Well, and leaning into the scandal, I mean, when JD Vance puts on a wig, that's not like a scandal. Like it's not a scandal that somebody made. Like they just tried to make him look stupid in a thing, and then he goes like, "Yeah, I'm a big stupid guy." Ha ha ha. Did you say thank you? But it's charming and fun, as opposed to like they would have to lean into some really, really dark stuff that their base is not going to. Well, their base, who knows about? I don't want to speak for their base, but animating the JD Vance meme has a very different energy than animating the Jay Jones texts.
Okay, so there's a video I think I just sent your way on X, and it's from Mickey Sherrill.
Hey, Mickey Sherrill.
Hi, thanks so much for coming down to Jersey.
It's awesome to be here with you. Obviously, the whole country is watching what's happening here in New Jersey, and I'm just so excited to be on the road with you today. I'm just so in awe of how you have spent your entire life in service, protecting this country, serving the people of New Jersey. And at this moment where we've got a president who's driving up the cost of everything, I've watched you and your work in the House of Representatives and how creative you are about trying to find a way, not just to lower costs, but to sort of give power back to small business people, the folks who are the lifeblood of our economy here in New Jersey and in Connecticut. And just awesome to be on the road with you today. It's tri-state solidarity.
Yes,
Connecticut,
I love
New Jersey.
I love it. Well, thank you. And you've been such a great champion of gun safety, and I know you have been finding solutions despite really uphill battles to try to keep our kids and our community safe. So I've always appreciated you for that. We'll continue the fight, but thank you so much for being here. And remember, Election Day is November 4th. You just have a couple days to get out the vote, and polls will be open from 6 to 8 p.m.
Do they not understand how just unentertaining these are? I mean, even 5-6 years ago, it was just awful. Who's doing this?
Well, there's a huge, back to the Vance thing. I mean, I think Vance thinks this stuff is funny. and thinks that like leaning into the memes are entertaining. And so when he does this, everybody cheers.
Because
when
he
these
is
people,
online enough to know what is and isn't funny. He leans into something he finds funny personally, and therefore it's funny to everyone else.
Right. But everybody can tell when the staffers are putting together an idea for a video, and then they sit him down on a train, or they sit him down and try to get some random old guy who's never heard of the meme go like, I don't know, 6, 7. And like, it's a weird play acting thing. We all know what they're doing. Everybody
it's like state fair. Like I'm at the state fair eating an elephant ear, just like all of you people do. I hate that so much.
Right. Yeah. And the idea that Gen Z can't see through this is obviously the leftist Gen Z people are going to support them, whatever. But like, this isn't mobilizing people. This isn't making them go, oh, yes, one of us, finally, a congressman who's like me.
How long until we see a senior level Democrat campaigner in the Sydney Sweeney sheer dress?
I hope a very long time.
Please,
I don't like your imagination, Tony. I don't like this. I've become very uncomfortable.
I said this yesterday, actually, to my wife, and she clotheslined me.
Yeah. Chuck Schumer comes out. Yeah, no, it's time.
Oh, the American people want cheer. Oh, man. Oh, I don't even. Well, that guarantees that Canon Press is not going to put this one up on the site.
We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Wade Stotts, host of the Wade Show with Wade over at Canon. Hey, check out the stuff over at Canon. And I'm saying that not because they're sponsoring the segment, and they're not. Although that was me wiggling my eyebrows monetarily. I will say this: the work that you guys have compiled together, that is not just, oh, we're putting together a platform drivel, is excellent stuff. I wish more people actually put good stuff together in a package and send it out to people. We'll include that link in the description.
Yeah, I'll tell you this real quick. This month, we're doing something called No Quarter November, where every week, I think we're giving away something like 15 to 20 books on Kindle. So everybody if you go to noquarternovember.com, it's Doug Wilson's thing you started, but we're giving away a ton of books. So if anybody even just wants to check out the stuff for free, please, noquarternovember.com, check it out.
Wade, thanks again, man. All right, we got a bit of bonus tonus for you this evening that is not just catching up on the stuff we weren't able to fit in the broadcast hour, but it's incredibly painful for just everyone in general. I'm talking Michelle Obama whining. Now, we've done this before. In fact, she's done this before. Michelle, who says that, they're not allowed to articulate their pain. Here is Michelle Obama saying that the Obama family, they were under such scrutiny in the White House, they had no grace whatsoever. Everyone was mean to them all the time. No one was allowed to ask any, no one said anything nice. They were under such scrutiny, no grace. Michelle Obama.
You said we were all too aware that as a first black couple, we couldn't afford any missteps. Yeah. And you also say, as a black woman, I was under a particularly white hot glare. Did you feel that?
For sure. You can't afford to get anything wrong because you didn't get at least until the country came to know us, we didn't get the grace that I think some other families have gotten.
Ah, yes. No, again, the true victim is always Michelle Obama. That woman has run on more grievance than I've ever seen another human do. And I've watched like 4 Beto O'Rourke campaigns. That man's changed races faster than Jimmy Kimmel in blackface. It's wild stuff. All right, a little bit of last here. I want to talk about the shutdown end because I do have some new updates for you. Believe it or not, some newer news that has come out. According to Jordan Carney, the Congress reporter for Politico, a group of Senate Democrats just met for a while in the basement. Now, normally this would be to hang out with Joe Biden, but he's no longer in office. So instead, these are some of the moderate Democrats. Now, I have said that there was always going to be a group of moderate Democrats who come from primarily purplish states who do not want to have the albatross of the shutdown, of the SNAP benefits, of all of the issues that even hosts like, for example, Jake Tapper are pointing out, yeah, this is a Democrat problem. There are certain Democrat senators that do not want this hanging around their neck. Perfect example of this is Cortez Masto. Kathy Cortez Masto in Nevada. This isn't really a principled stance she's taken. She just knows that Nevada will toss her on her butt. Angus King in Maine as well. So what does this mean for, Fetterman? He's got a little more principled stance here, but, he's campaigning around with Republican John McCormick. I said there were some other Democrats who were likely to eventually vote to reopen the government. One of these was John Ossoff of Georgia. Now, I also threw in Raphael Warnock because they both voted to pay the troops. In the list right now, according to The Hill, Jeanne Shaheen from New Hampshire, John Ossoff, there you go, Gary Peters and Elisa Slotkin of Michigan, Mark Kelly of Arizona, Peter Welch of Vermont, Maggie Hassan of New Hampshire, and then from Wisconsin, Tammy Baldwin. I very much agree with Tammy Baldwin. I do believe you could see her flaking real quick. Now, according to Jordan Carney, the later news, the group of Democrats of the Senate that just met in the basement, maybe, this is at 6:30, to talk about some ending of the shutdown stuff, because while some of the national polls say that they blame Republicans and Trump for some of this, like some independent polls that say that, a lot of the localized purple state polls in which you do see Hassan, Kelly, Peters, Ossoff, Slotkin, Welch, Baldwin, etc. on the chopping block, they blame Democrats. It's about the 2026 midterm election polls. That's what matters. It's not 2028, boys, girls, and squirrels. And so Shaheen, Angus, Cortez Masto, Peters, etc. we're seeing meeting in the basement. Now, whether or not they end up killing Colonel Mustard with the candlestick remains to be seen. Whether Chuck Schumer shows up in a sheer dress also remains to be seen. I don't want to see that. So that brings us to the filibuster. Right now, President Trump trending on social media because he, on 60 Minutes over the weekend, made the case that Republicans need to drop the filibuster and go nuclear on this particular deal and kill the filibuster, Republicans, so that they can force the government to reopen because of the slim majority in the Senate and then ram through a bunch of policy. Here's the president.
I was looking into it. 3/4 of these people will see their health care premiums double, live in states where you won in the last election. I mean, even here in Florida has the highest number of residents on Obamacare in the country.
And I'm saying we can fix it, Nora.
You have helped end these government shutdowns in the past when they came about, and you did it by bringing
I'm very good at it, but I'm not going to do it by. I'm not going to do it by extortion. I'm not going to do it by being extorted by the Democrats who have lost their way. There's something wrong with these people.
So then what happens on November 15th when the troops don't get a paycheck?
Schumer is a basket case, and he has nothing to lose. He's become, I just left Japan, he's become a kamikaze pilot.
Just, again, Trump's ability to just not give a flying, or in the kamikaze pilot's case, a crashing and burning F when it comes to these interviews. I do appreciate that kind of return to just saying the thing. Making it clear, we weren't allowed to say kamikaze for a while. Ooh, it was bad or whatever. Trump saying it and a very accurate description of Schumer.
Sounds like it's not going to get solved, the shutdown.
It's going to get solved, yeah. Oh, it's going to get solved.
How?
We'll get it solved. Eventually, they're going to have to vote.
You're saying the Democrats will capitulate?
I think they have to. And if they don't vote, that's their problem. Now, I happen to agree with something else. I think we should do the nuclear option. This is a totally different nuclear, by the way. It's called ending the filibuster.
Now, Senate Majority Leader John Thune has come out and said, no. I do agree with the Senate Majority Leader. I don't think ending the filibuster is the move here. I think that Democrats have bet that if they can just get enough bad press about Trump, that they can ride out this shutdown and it'll be totally fine. The answer to that, by the way, is tomorrow. The answer to that question is tomorrow. I'm going to be real with you. We don't really see anyone motivated to go out and vote tomorrow. Nobody. I've seen the on-the-ground stuff in New Jersey, some of the footage sent to us by News Nation. I've seen the Virginia stuff on the ground because I work for the Daily Signal and we have a lot of people curry-combing the countryside and talking to individuals all over the state, all over the Commonwealth, talking about who they're going to vote for in those elections. Some Pennsylvania-esque stuff as well with the Supreme Court election. That's a different animal altogether. Proposition 50 in California is also a different animal altogether. Again, our election coverage tomorrow night is going to be jam-packed with all of that analysis. But here's the prediction now. How tomorrow goes matters for the shutdown because it either energizes the Democrats and gives them the ability to outlast Republicans until they do consider a filibuster option, which I pray does not end up being the case. Once you open that Pandora's box, it will forever in this country. That is one norm that I very strongly recommend against. While we're at it also, I would like to go back to the state legislature's election of senators instead of a national popularity contest. But in that instance, I think the filibuster, I hope we don't come to that. Tomorrow's elections determine that. Producer Nick?
I will remind everyone that last week I did say that 4 days after SNAP benefits end, that is when the Democrats will be pushed to reopen the government. What? I had a reasoning for that.
Let me hear it. No, I think you were right at the time. I thought it was a good prediction. I liked how bold you were to actually stick a number to it, like a milk expiration date. Let me hear it.
That is exactly why. That is when perishable foods begin to actually run out.
Oh my gosh! You mean you actually got real data driven about it?
I always do the data. I looked into what the average home consumes in that period, and so if people had used up their SNAP benefits by the 4th of this month, people are going to be looking to do grocery shopping without any money to actually do it.
I'm constantly fascinated by, first of all, very well done. I really like that. I think that if Republicans are able to eke out a few electoral victories tomorrow, in New Jersey, very doable, very good toss-up. And by the way, along those lines, Scott Pressler has been doing God's work on the ground, registering people to vote. He's done work in Virginia. He's done work in New Jersey. He's done work in Pennsylvania. The man's unstoppable. Thrilled to see consistent work. What we're seeing right now is very little in the realm of actually getting people out to go out and make things happen. This comes down to the vision principle again. People do want to see programs met. They also want to see programs scraped out from fraud and abuse. Fox News held a town hall. There were individuals who talked about the importance of federal programs being funded, but only if people weren't abusing the system. Here was one of the town hallees, respondees, whatever you call them. Here was one of the responses.
The difference between being kind, and to me, my faith is one thing is being nice to people from different lands, but they also have to be respectful of our laws. And everybody wants to come to the United States because we have a great economy, have a lot of opportunity, but there's a process to do that. My family has been here since at least the 1700s. There's no one that gave us a free $1,400 debit card. No one gave us a free apartment. No one gave us anything free. We had to work for it. So there is a process. And if we respect all people, that means that the people that come here need to respect our laws. And that's all that we're saying. We allowed 20 million immigrants in here legally since 2000. How much is too much, and how much are we going to put the burden on the taxpayers, because the money has to come from somewhere? Yeah. It's just common sense.
So Maria, I see you nod.
Now, we just got a super chat in, and it's an excellent question. Excellent question. It's from Richard Waring, $5. Again, very, very kind of you. You don't have to do that, but we really appreciate it. Very kind. And he says, nobody has talked about what will happen in 7 weeks when we are back here again, meaning that this continuing resolution is literally just a short extension to fund the government. Do you think that they will jump in headfirst to this again? No, I don't think that when the continuing resolution is eventually passed, when Congress eventually gets into this mechanism, this maneuvering to actually get a longer term continuing resolution passed, there is not going to be that kind of a holdup, because a shutdown is one of those things that everyone kind of smiles and giggles running up to. There are chores like that. You're like, oh yeah, I can do this. And then as you actually get up closer to the chore, you begin the chore, you're like, oh crap, why did I do this? I know I hate this. Every time we talk about how much we hate this. I doubt they're going to sprint close to it. But you do point out a major issue for Republicans here and for Democrats. Neither one of them are painting a picture for what the funding does. This has always been a crucial Achilles heel for both parties. Now, Democrats will sort of tell you what they want to do with the money, but the money that they apply doesn't actually fix it. They'll say, we want to spend money on healthcare and on education and housing and free stuff and a cool car that's electric and the drag queen down the street. And we want all that to be free. You even have Senator Wyden from Oregon saying that, well, a lot of people are going without food right now, so it's time to tax the rich. By the way, there's no evidence that Senator Wyden has, coughed up any of his oodles of money to affect those who are currently suffering, but just Democrats from Oregon. In the long term for the Republican Party, someone, somewhere, somehow is going to have to communicate what the money in the budget is for and address problems that everyone in this country is facing. The Republican Party must address problems that young men are facing, that young women are facing, that the boomer generation, the Generation X, and the millennials are all facing. It is crucial. Because right now, the reason Zoran Mamdani actually has popularity is that he's radical, yes, but he's actually just throwing out solutions to things. They're stupid solutions. They don't work. They failed before, but they are possible solutions. The reason right now that there are a lot of young men who are misguidedly moving towards people like Nicolas Fuentes and the Groyper movement is because although his work is done in half dyslexic crayon and pure stupidity and evil to get to the end of his solutions for housing and for food and for healthcare and for national security and for immigration, there are still considered answers. Right now, the Republican Party, where are the answers? Now, we have good things the administration is doing. Absolutely. Love it. Thrilled to see it. But what does the picture look like on the other side? The reason that America in the 1800s made these beautiful broadcasted murals that were found on the inside of state capitol buildings was to honor heritage and to paint the picture of where the state was going. The reason that John F. Kennedy was popular is because he, in the middle of the Cold War, did not shove his nose to the grindstone and look at the trees and miss the entire forest. He said things like, "We chose to go to the moon, not because it is easy, but because it is hard." When Donald Trump, announcing his 2024 election bid, got in front of the country and started describing issues that Americans were facing, he also talked about what America could look like on the other side of things. He said, we're going to be the first country to go to Mars. It's going to be a red planet with a red, white, and blue flag. Excellent. He painted pictures. Now we are in the thick of the administration and Republicans are distracted. Republicans are distracted. You have people like Tucker Carlson that have now come out in front of the country and said, you know who I really hate? Evangelicals. I hate evangelicals more than anyone, because they're Zionists. And then he laughs. And it's disgusting and it's evil to get out here and say, you know what, actually the real problem right now, and this is where Fuentes completely falls apart. Well, he falls apart from the bottom because this is what he starts with. It's the Jews, it's the Jewry. And then Tucker expands that and says, oh, and it's the Zionists, it's the Christian Zionists, and it's the globalists. Quit, knock it off. Knock it off. Mitch McConnell's not leading the Senate right now. You don't have to make the Nikki Haley, Mitch McConnell, neocon argument. We're here. We're in power. We're doing things right now. Paint the vision of where America is supposed to go. Paint what American families are supposed to look like and how we get there. Tell me what in the budget is going to apply. SNAP benefits should go to Americans who are on hard times or on disability who need it, and everyone who doesn't need it should be thrown off of the program. That is why it matters. The reason that ICE and that Homeland Security are popular with a large portion of the American people is because of their PR. It matters. They're saying this is what America will look like after we deal with the violent crime from illegal immigrants. And it is a core problem that Republicans have often had. We're individualist. We focus on ourselves. The American dream is you leave me the heck alone and I'll do whatever it is that I prefer. And the issue is that in that particular campaign, what we have done is we have hollowed out room for those who have bad intentions to come in and proclaim the wonders and the futures of socialism. And it's attractive because visions and purpose are attractive. And in order to fight those like, for example, who are the guys coming in and saying, well, it's all the Jews and the Zionists and the evangelicals and trying to get us involved in every foreign conflict ever, and they're killing Americans, they don't care, all this other stuff. The way that you fight that is by saying, this is where we could be. We could be in an America that is in fact restored and has found new purpose. And that purpose, it was actually from the original Marco Rubio campaign in 2016. Marco Rubio ran on a campaign called the New American Century. President Trump has run on Make America Great Again. It paints a picture. And right now, this is something the Republican Party needs. I don't think I saw Republicans paint a picture of what Winsome Earl Sears' gubernatorial campaign as a Republican would mean with her as governor. I don't think I saw that with Jack Chiaretti, although far better than Mickey Sherrill, far better than Abigail Spanberger in Virginia, Where's the vision? Where are we going? What could we be doing? Curtis Lewa in New York. He talked about all the things he didn't want to see, but where's the what New York City could be? You say, Tony, that sounds really childish. Okay. And yet, here we are. The driving need for purpose is crucial to the American dream. You can build it all on a common enemy that got us through the Cold War. The reason American conservatism has always been far better than European conservatism has always been about preserving the status quo. And it is why through the 17, the 18, the 1900s, every European conservative movement failed and failed hard. We're going to preserve this monarchy. We're going to preserve the nobility. We're going to preserve and it never preserves anything. American conservatism is pioneering. American conservatism manifests destiny. American conservatism expands. It is, by its own nature, it's Abrahamic. Go unto a land that I will show you. It is built on moving to accomplish everything. That's why Elon Musk is popular, by the way. If you want to know why Elon Musk was popular with a lot of American people, it's because the man says our future is in space. We're going to go, we're going to build. He builds tunnel companies, car companies, robotics companies, space and launching companies. He makes the dream real. And now that we're in the Trump administration, it's you have to go and do and achieve. This is why when the Trump administration actually builds something, actually prosecutes someone, actually passes legislation that we've been talking about for 10, 15 years, there's this wild party that erupts in the country. Because it's finally doing something. Americans despise the long letter to Congress. And there is nothing as pathetic or as muling right now, in these moments where we are more concerned about, well, hold on, actually, we need to consider that we have all of our allies are happy and we need to stop and say, well, we're never going to cancel this person or that person. We have things to do. Those who are bad actors, I don't need you to march alongside me. There's a purpose that is driven. It is crucial that we achieve this as Americans, because if we don't provide a purpose and if we don't get that possible vision for the future in front of Americans, the midterms are going to be a sweep for the Democrats, even with none of their, and it's not going to be because Democrats are going to rally people to get out and vote. It's going to be because if Republicans don't have something to latch onto and to go for, then there's going to be nothing for them to achieve. There's going to be nothing to come out. Convince me why I need to come out to the DMV, and it needs to be a whole lot better than I'm not the other guy. What you have seen in New Jersey and Virginia has largely been, although I'll say Jack Chiaretti did a far better job of this. No offense to Winsome Earl Sears, by the way. Love her, met her. She's a very nice lady. I saw far more of Abigail is bad than Winsome is good. In New York City, what's the entire campaign been about? Mamdani. Has it not? Has the campaign been about what Curtis Lewa, who has a dedicated history of service to the people of New York City? That's what the Red Beret is for. Have we talked about that? Have we actually talked about where we could go? No, it's all about stopping Mamdani, who provided a very horrible, decrepit, evil, bastardized way to get to his vision of utopia that won't work. Now we're seeing this on the right. The bastardized vision of what America could be is rising in the party. And it's rising in the party because the current established traditional conservatives have no actual vision they've communicated. We have our values, our morals, and our principles, but what does that mean? What does it look like? That's going to matter a lot. Join us tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern, where we're going to dig into the election coverage. I'll see you guys real soon. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast here on the Daily Signal, nationally syndicated first on 93 WIBC. Take care.